All of you for coming out tonight. We really wanted to celebrate football in its purity, at its essence. The Cosmos are on hiatus, as you all know. Again, as he introduced me, I'm the club historian of the New York Cosmos. The team may be on hiatus, but it's not that the club is extinct. That's not the situation at all. We continue to fight on. We're fighting in court. The North American Soccer League lawsuit against United States Soccer and Major League Soccer is ongoing. The judge was just changed on that. We can talk about those kinds of things later on if you want. But obviously the opportunity with the World Cup coming up and the Cosmos on hiatus, right? It was 150 years ago yesterday. 150 years ago yesterday that the first international football match was played. It was played in Glasgow between Scotland and England, who played to a 0-0 tie. So here we are, the first day of the next 150 years of international football. How far have we come? Well, we've made a lot of progress, but there's an awful lot of corruption at stake, obviously, that we're seeing going on with the tournament in Qatar. Can you hear the 6,500 voices? Can you hear the 6,500 voices? The 6,500 lost souls that Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International tell us lost their lives for this tournament. Now, the government of Qatar says only 3 people died building those stadia. Only 3. Oh yes, and another 37 happened to die while they were there. Okay, so how many lives should be sacrificed for our joy this month? I'm not asking that you not watch the tournament. I know some of you are boycotting it, and I respect that. And I know some of you have connections to those players on the pitch. So many local players from the New York area. The captain from Wappingers Falls, right? We haven't had a player from Eastern New York play in the World Cup for the United States since Mike Windishman captained the team in 1990 in Italy. So we've got a lot of reason to watch too, for those that do. And I know some of you are here to play yourselves, right? But I want to think about whether it's the 6,500 or it's the 3 or the 37. I want us to be thinking about them, that their lives not be lost in vain, that we remember them, and that we remember them when we play and we enjoy the game with joy. Now, I just came out with 505 years ago, Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses in Wittenberg. Now, again, I don't know how many of you have read the 95 Theses, but I'm assuming all of you at least have heard about it. What he was doing was protesting a world governing body that he saw as corrupt, in need of reform. And so with that in mind, on October 31st, 505 years after Martin Luther had published his, I published these 95 Theses on the Reformation of football. In the spirit of Luther, but also in the spirit of Paul. At the Areopagus in Athens, I announced this publication, but even further in the spirit of Socrates, and all those who sought to reform systems they saw as corrupt. Now, I'm going to read through all 95 of these theses. You may not want to hear even one of them. If so, I understand. But I'm going to perform these 95 theses. And if you want to go down and kick a ball around and dip back in and out, you're welcome to do so. I have copies here available to be signed. I also have copies of Obrigado, which is an epic based upon the World Cup from 8 years ago in Brazil. And for those Cosmos fans, I also have this special book that came out in 2013. But if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read the 95 Theses. And if you want to go about and play and move on, please, again, let's not forget the lost souls that have sacrificed so much, right, that are behind those games in Qatar. And vamos Cosmos. Out of love and zeal for beauty and the desire to bring it to light, the following theses will be publicly discussed in New York at Mercy College under the professorship of David Kilpatrick, Doctor of Philosophy, Professor of English and Sport Management, and regularly appointed lecturer on these subjects at that place. He requests that those who cannot be present to debate orally with us will do so by letter. 1. Life must be justified, given meaning. 2. Beauty justifies life. 3. Work preserves but cannot justify life. 4. We find meaning in play. 5. Meaningful modes of play produce the sacred. 6. The hieratic event stages myth, making meaning. 7. Sport is a meaningful mode of play. 8. The stadium has replaced the cathedral as the locus of spiritual life. 9. Football is the most meaningful game. 10. Association football is the beautiful game. 11. Association football is the global game. 12. Association football is the superior code of football. 13. Care for the association code requires understanding its history and governance. 14. Care for the association code requires understanding other codes of football. 15. An essential element of the association code is associativity. 16. Dissociative elements have threatened the association code since inception. 17. The essence of team sport is associativity. 18. Associativity is ultimately cosmopolitan. 19. Olympism is the noble pursuit of sport's essence. 20. Modern Olympism is flawed with its principle of sporting equity. 21. Unlike men, all sports are not created equal. 22. Modern football is a product of modernism and its antidote. 23. Often innovation in football design is technological, beginning with trains and vulcanized rubber. 24. Nonetheless, the simplicity of the association code is essential to its universality and superiority. 25. The laws of the game, although not set in stone, must not be tampered with lightly. 26. The laws of the game must not be pedantically asserted over trifles, disrupting the flow of play. 27. The governance of the game must not compromise the laws or essence of the game. 28. The study of the laws of the game must not be restricted to referee education, but free and available to all who love the game. 29. The game is best played in ideal weather conditions, cultivating environmental sensitivity. 30. Internationalism compromises Olympism, which is, like associativity, essentially cosmopolitan. 31. The sacred may be rendered profane, subjected to the cynicism of utility, and spoiled of its meaningful essence. 32. Sport provides the most culturally meaningful events in modernity. 33. Individual sports are most meritocratic, while team sports are the most democratic, but most vulnerable to unfairness. 34. Soccer's global presence is an inevitable consequence of the illusory goals at its essence that make it the greatest of sports. 35. The willful refusal of utility is the essence of the sacred. 36. We work with our hands, so playing with our feet, denying the equipmentality of the hands, is to transcend utility. 37. Like a cheat who would handle the ball, there are those who seek to get their hands on the game with cynical utility. 38. The sacred has been profaned and requires reformation. 39. The delicate balance between the technique and brutality makes the association code superior to other sports. 40. The delicate balance between predictability and the prospect of upset makes the association code superior to other sports. 41. The delicate balance between attention and endurance makes the association code superior to other sports. 42. The delicate balance between individualism and collectivism makes the association code superior to other sports. 43. The delicate balance between reason and passion makes the association code superior to other sports. 44. The delicate balance between nature and technology makes the association code superior to other sports. 45. The delicate balance and connectivity between local and global competitions makes the association code superior to other sports. 46. Temporal and spatial standards of play preserve a universal alignment with this delicate balance for the most meaningful games. 47. annual and quadrennial competitions align play with natural cosmic cycles. 48. The disruption of the most meaningful game's alignment with these cycles for crass commercialism threatens the game's sacred power to provide meaning. 49. Care for the game requires attention to local and global levels of play. 50. Corruption is found at local, regional, national, and international levels of the game's governance. 51. Care for the game requires rooting out corruption at all levels. 52. We need more meaningful games. 53. More meaningful games are a matter of quality, not quantity. 54. Corruption in the game threatens to render it meaningless. 55. The right to play is sacrosanct. 56. Pay to play violates the right to play. 57. Pay to play schemes deprive talent opportunities to develop and thrive. 58. The deprivation of talent is the deprivation of beauty. 59. The deprivation of beauty threatens to render the game meaningless. 60. Inclusivity and opportunity must be afforded all who would play, at all ages and all levels of play. 61. Elite sport should be meritocratic, but now financial resources too often determine who plays. 62. The simplicity of the association code should prevent its play from ever being considered a luxury for the privileged few. 63. The beautiful game, like rock music, is fundamentally working class, if not culturally classless. 64. If the game can only be played and watched by the wealthy, abandoning its working class roots, it will become culturally irrelevant, meaningless. 65. Mediated views of the game cannot overcome the phenomenology of live drama any more than cinema can surpass live theater for performers and audience alike. 66. If the masses cannot play, they will not watch, they will not care, and the game's sacred role in society will be lost forever. 67. The sole reason soccer remains culturally irrelevant in America is exclusivity. 68. Whereas this exclusivity was once ethnic, it is now economic, despite preserved hegemony of a new geriatric oligarchy. 69. Term limits for leadership positions not only prevent corruption with governance, they ensure fresh ideas and diverse perspectives. 70. Lovers of the beautiful game in America are disenfranchised from the game's governance and grow ever more disillusioned. 71. Franchise scarcity is a blight on the landscape of American sport. 72. The adoption of the North American League sport model for association football leaves the game culturally marginal. 73. Artificial franchise scarcity is antithetical to the essence of the association code, rooted in fraternal connectivity and inclusion. 74. Cultivating empathy, the humanities must play a greater role in coaching and management education, player development, and sport criticism. 75. Commerce should serve sport, not sport serving commerce, for commercialism exploits sacred play and spoils sport to profanity. 76. We need a temple cleansing to overcome the corruption and ineptitude of soccer's Sanhedrin. 77. A global super league could be culturally transformative so long as it is rooted in an inclusive model with sporting integrity. 78. A European Super League formed on the American franchise model with artificial scarcity threatens to render the game culturally irrelevant, meaningless. 79. Conversely, the adoption of an associative, inclusive league model for soccer in North America would prove culturally transformative. 80. Soccer cannot become the preeminent sport in the United States without the adoption of promotion and relegation and the dissolution of the single entity league. 81. The growth of the game cannot be hindered indefinitely by the interests of capital. 82. While technology allowed for the game's birth and growth, it might well bring its death, lost as screen simulacra. 83. VAR is the most blatant intrusion of commercial interests in the game, despite ethical pretensions. 84. VAR is an aesthetic failure. 85. VAR is an epistemic failure. 86. VAR is no more than a Trojan horse to allow for commercial interruptions, disturbing the delicate balance of temporal limits. 87. Gender equity is both the greatest promise of the game and its greatest opportunity for growth. 88. The game will only find its full meaning when the women's game means as much as the men's game, regardless of nation. 89. For 150 years, international play has been the most meaningful, but globalization will require club play to transcend national interests. 90. A new model of global sporting governance must emerge to allow the game to enhance its sacred role for the future. 91. As square and compass design the space of play, we must ensure the game through time achieves true universality in cosmodernity. 92. Away then with all those cynical pundits who say to lovers of the beautiful game, "This is just business, the way of the world, for we make our world." 93. Blessed be all those prophets of a better day for the beautiful game, that we may play with an ever greater sense and depth of meaning. 94. Lovers of the beautiful game should be exhorted to be diligent in pursuit of reform for the game, through scorn and derision. 95. And thus be confident that through their efforts they bring light to darkness and let beauty flourish with the game.
Yeah!